04. Text HOPE to 54504 now.
Now, from the Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
This hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white,
money, 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 money. We're going to talk about markets and money. Present, speculate on the future, remember the past. There's only one guy that has experience on three main continents that's been all over television: CNBC, BBC, CNN, Fox, Business News. You've seen him everywhere. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady. How are you, handsome?
I'm all right, brother. How are you? I'm good.
Very good, very good. I am kind of laughing because this whole thing with Chicago is, I mean, Scott, to listen to it is absolutely and utterly fantastic, but to see what is happening with the schemes that they promised us was going to be fantastic. It's reminiscent of when the dailies sold the parking meters. It's only this is on steroids. Bally's has been double-crossed 8 ways to Sunday, and now they stopped building their so-called casino, which I don't know anybody that was planning on going to it anyway. But now they're expanding the idea that they're going to put gaming where people can afford it the least, and somehow that's going to be a benefit versus the ghettos that the ghetto gaming builds. Do you love it? Does a little piece of you love it?
That's as my old man would say, Shaun. That's a tax you don't have to pay. Don't do it.
It's amazing, though, to see how this is going to be the scheme in the face of the reality that even the Bally's promise of $200 million a year, that's not even close. Didn't even turn out in the way it is. And when you step back and you look at the plans of what they have none other than continuing to spread that tax out to the borders of the state in general. And I'm wondering if you think how much longer it's going to be before the real chickens come home to roost and you start to see these properties not just sell at 10-year-ago prices when you inflationally adjust the money, but start to sell less than that when you don't adjust the money, and you just see people burning them and just selling them and abandoning them.
Well, watch what they do, because what their actions tell you more than what's really happening. I mean, when you're having to dip into the pot and hope that gambling revenue is going to get you out of trouble, or marijuana sales revenue is going to get you out of trouble, when they start going down that alley, you know that they've basically done everything they possibly can with everything else, and nothing's worked. So they're getting pretty desperate.
Now, when you look at the whole macro outlook of some of the bigger numbers, how do you see it? I see good and I see bad. What do you see?
Yeah, I do. Corporations are making money. I mean, it hasn't really trickled down to the man on the street yet. I think that 60 to 70% of the lower incomes, they're still kind of hurting. They don't have a big 401k, if they have one, that's really benefited from the stock market rally that we're seeing as we speak. They haven't seen a lot of inflation in their asset prices because they probably just rent. So there's a lot of people, and I think that that's why we see a lot of the socialism kind of popping up, because a lot of people feel like they got left behind. Now there's upper 20% of incomes that are killing it. I mean, they've got big 401ks and big stock portfolios. They've got a lot of different properties and assets that inflate with the inflation. So there is definitely a bifurcated kind of, they call it a K-shaped economy. But I think that overall, with the earnings, our GDP, wages, I think that we're doing pretty well, but we do have some things that we have to worry about. And I think that's definitely the people on Main Street, mom and pop, that might just be renting and don't have a big 401k. Those people are still paying a higher tax at the grocery store and a higher tax at the gas pump.
And the promises of continued taxation is really what has always been the goal of the American communists, who had a very difficult time convincing a middle class that we were going in the wrong direction. But when you look at this rise of these imbecile kids, they're failures in their children that are promising this utopian American communism. They're really building on the fact that the people who have not been paying attention the way you and I have, and most of our listeners, these are people that have been bearing the cost of all of the promises yet fraud, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's lower prices and just keep hiring Democrats. So instead of people rejecting it, they almost are forced to accept it because things are so bad they can't wrap their head around the fact it's very area specific. So in a way, the scheme of destroying the middle class to gain power for the complete government takeover of your life in Democrat areas, it's working, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. I have family members, I have friends, especially obviously in Chicago, that are very upset about what's been happening. And their answer is to turn off social media and not watch the news anymore. And I think that's the absolute opposite thing you should be doing. You should make sure you know what's going on, because these things happen in the dark of night, just like they did with the immigrants that we were landing in airports around the country. And if you're not paying attention, you're not going to be up to date. And these tax policies get jammed down your throat. Come election time, you're in the booth. You read, box A versus box B, and a lot of people can't tell the difference. The way they're worded, they're also very cleverly written. I mean, you have to stay engaged, because if you just think, oh, I can't stand the fighting, there's always somebody bitching about something. And then if you turn off and put your head in the sand, you ultimately end up bearing the cost and the brunt of a lot of the bad decisions, because there's nobody there to get in the way.
So it's always been interesting to me how the decent people abandon the argument against the most obvious, most corrupt, best example of failure in a short period of time, like Obamacare. I talk about it a lot because it's amazing to me. And a stat just came out. There are 7 million more people without insurance than prior to the promise of Obamacare, which was going to eliminate people without insurance. There are 7 million Americans right now more that have no insurance. So not only didn't it work, it's the definition of absolute failure. It's a 4,000 times the cost for premiums. The service sucks. There's 50% less doctors, 50% less hospitals, and 7 million more Americans do not have insurance. So isn't that something to revitalize and bring back the argument of this was your champion commie? Look at what the hell is going on. Why are so many Republicans? They don't make the argument anymore. It's like they're afraid to talk about it. I don't get it.
They need messaging. The Democrats have always been better at messaging than the Republicans. But Shaun, the Democrats tacitly admitted to the American public over the last shutdown that Obamacare didn't work, because they were shutting it down to get more subsidies to make Obamacare cheaper. I think that's an absolute admission that the whole thing doesn't work anyway. It wasn't getting anybody anything cheaper. It was more expensive, and they were having to subsidize it. So they've admitted, but I don't know, somehow the Republicans can't get those points across. The Republicans can't get the fact that all these tax cuts across. The Republicans can't get a lot of these things. But I mean, look, my biggest issue, like you've got issues, is that yes, we've got an inflationary issue on our hands here. It's still not out of control, 3.4%. And if you go to core inflation, it's 2.5, which is only 0.5% away from the government's goal. But my issue is this: in June of 2022, we had a 9.1% inflation rate. And why do we have that? It was just bad economic policy. They just kept pouring cash in the economy, and there was nowhere for it to go. So everybody competed with goods and services, and they drove the prices up. There was no a stated reason why we had to have that, except for bad decisions. Now we have a 3.4% inflation rate, and it's for a stated goal. We're trying to erase a terrorist, a bad actor off the globe, and their threat with nuclear weapons. There's an actual benefit to the pain that you're going through today. And by the way, the pain is only 1/3 of the pain you went through for nothing in June of 2022. But you don't ever hear it said like that.
No, you don't hear it said like that. And there's also something that is lost in this translation of foreign policy. If you examine any of these combatants of Americanism and these Cold Wars we have going on, from China to pick a Central South American nation to Iran, if you look at what is happening in those countries, and I'm including Europe in this, Europe is 1,000 times worse off than we are. And when you look at the fact that only our country is the only one that has any real growth in the reprivatization of an economy, because when you compartmentalize how much money Joe Biden really spent, he not only added $9 trillion to the debt, he blew the $6.5 trillion coming in every year, right? So you're talking about $35 trillion that was spent in a 4-year period, most of it to mimic jobs, mimic an economy. Now, you could argue if the vast majority of that is green energy, or if you could argue it's the phony nonsense of other entitlements or just the money that's stolen. That's just the numbers, the fact of the numbers. So when I saw the employment number come out and it said we're losing jobs, I said, finally, because there are millions of jobs that have been frauded the economy as it exists. These are jobs primarily in the green energy arena. We need more of them.
Job loss in that number on Friday. And another big factor was the World Cup was over and all those people lost their temporary positions. So, I mean, again, the Republicans missed a chance to say, hey, the World Cup's over, so a lot of people, lost their temporary jobs. And by the way, we're getting rid of these all these other government positions. But they were on their heels trying to fight everybody, telling them what a bad number it is, and maybe the economy is going down the tubes because of this unemployment report. But you could have turned it around and had it be a strong thing. But no, I don't think they did a good job of that one either.
So you see what happened in Wisconsin, right? Mao Zedong lost, allegedly.
I've never heard that. Mao Zedong. That's awesome.
Mao Zedong. She love you hung time.
Yeah.
I think it was an opportunity missed. She would have been exactly. There's a certain integrity in what they're saying. They're admitting to you what they are. And now we've got this swindler, David Crowley, who is an Obama, only he's an actual citizen. And when you listen to his story, I was this poor kid, I'm a community organizer, it's reminiscent of exactly what Barack Obama swept him to the White House. I actually am starting to believe, I do believe, that was a ruse. That was a limp jab to set us up for the knockout in this David Crowley. That this whole movement of American communism, the idiocy of it all, it's all a ruse to put you right back in the illusion of a capitalist. And you remember Obama, how he ran. I'm going to go through the budget line by line. I'm going to save you this. We're going to cut the deficit. He ran like Reagan, knowing the whole time all he wanted to do was backdoor nationalize everything. He's more dangerous than an out-of-the-closet communist. He's an in-the-closet. And I don't just mean because Michelle, I never bought that whole sex thing anyway.
Well, look, everybody thinks that he was a great president, but he didn't do anything. And one thing he did do is turned out to be an abject failure. He's just well-spoken and easy on the eyes for some people. And I guess apparently that's good enough to be president nowadays. But he was probably one of the worst presidents we've ever had, and he should be thankful that Joe Biden followed him up because Joe Biden took that mantle. And here we sit. You're exactly right. This is what the socialists want. Is they want a single payer, they want Medicare for all, and they have no idea about what they're actually talking about. Number one, and number two is, have you seen these interviews with? So one of them was the DSA chair saying that she was upset after the original October the 7th attack on Israel by Hamas. She could not make it to New York in time to be there for the Hamas celebration on October the 8th.
Yeah.
These people, it's mind-boggling. And you know what, Shaun? I'm trying right now. I've been writing my thoughts down, which is dangerous. The crayons are really big and fat. But I've been trying to write my thoughts down because I think there's a thin thread of commonality between the ridiculousness of the DSA and socialism and the ridiculousness of our public and these trans people trying to play in women's sports. I mean, we're forging new waves of absolute stupidity and craziness, and they both go in the same direction. They both have some sort of link.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, pretty soon it's going to become a manifesto, so be careful. Keep the pages down. However, when you really when you sit back and you look at what Barack did from the other side of the coin. We look at it as, what are you doing? You're going the wrong way. It's like planes, trains, and automobiles. How does he know where we're going? If you look at it from what the goal is, he uncoupled American socialism and communism from any financial reality. After all, 18 years, $30 trillion in debt, and nobody really wants to talk about it, not even our side, which is why I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to predict something for you. The greatest governed state, as far as I'm concerned, is mine. I think Florida is. And if you listen to Ron DeSantis and you look at what he did during the abuse and the tyranny of the most incompetent, illegitimate president we've had, and that's saying something, with Joe Biden, you also look at how he ran when he was a congressman and who he ran against, and you look at what he put forward as a congressman. I think Ron DeSantis is going to be the nominee for 2028. I think he will win, and I think he will have the courage to do what, unfortunately, I don't know if he could do it if he wanted to, talk specifically about the debt and the money and cutting and reducing spending. And if he doesn't do that, then this debt that is driving us nuts at $40 trillion will be 80 by the time there's another presidential election. I believe that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I like him a lot. I like Rubio a lot. Obviously, you still have to keep Vance in the mix, but I'll take all three of those. Any three of them, I'm fine with any three. But I do like DeSantis. I agree with you. But I just want you to take a second and think about J.D. Vance, Rubio, and DeSantis as our guys in the mix to lead the country going forward against what could possibly come out of the Democrats or the DSA. It's a joke. It's not. It's a slam dunk. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing to see what's happening on the other side. But
wow.
Half the country, Shaun, feels like they've been left behind. 70% of this economy feels like they didn't have a house when the housing market exploded. They haven't had any assets give them any real return. They don't have a 401k. And look at me now. I'm paying more at the gas pumps than I ever did, and I'm also paying more at Kroger than I ever did. I mean, we have to do something about the everyday man affordability. That's a problem.
Well, I have to tell you, I Vance, and I had this discussion with Charlie Kirk. I'm not a Vance guy. I don't know what it is. I like him, and I could leave him on the sideline. But the one person I think needs to be in this discussion is arguably one of the most important people in the administration today, and that's Scott Bessent. If it could be a DeSantis-Bessent ticket, are you kidding me?
I'm not. I might flip for Bessent. I mean, he's my type of guy.
Yeah.
Depending on
easy now. No, just keep the cow jacket on, will you, sicko? Go ahead.
That's all I got on. And my cow Crocs. He's fantastic. I mean, talk about a brilliant man. And to see those people have to sit in front of Congress and get grilled by people that have an IQ of 30 is unbelievable. That absolutely happens. I mean, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they come at him aggressively, and he just sits there and smiles. I use your line all the time. It does look like every time he's talking to it, he's looking into the sun, because I don't know why he squints all the time. But the guy's brilliant. And I told you the story about me trading basically against his book in London in 1992. I didn't know it was him, but he was part of the Quantum Fund with George Soros and Stanley Druckenmiller. The guy's a genius. He knows money markets better than anybody else. As long as he's involved, he'll have a feeling about whether these bond markets, because I'm going to talk to DJ Anthony coming on my show tomorrow. We're going to talk about this debt and these bond markets that are starting to demand, these bond vigilantes are wanting more money for the money they're loaning the U.S. because we're not keeping our house very straight, and these bond yields are starting to creep up, and it's starting to make a dent in our society.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. However, I will say too, I love Harriet Hageman. I think she's under appreciated. And if we could get that crew, when you look at our bench and you look at these people and you understand their intellect and their principles and they're anchored to fundamentals, I'm extremely optimistic. And I never thought I'd say this. I like buying the Japanese bonds because Japan is very important to us as they are a big holder of a lot of our debt. We don't buy those bonds. They sell our debt, and they're an ally. That's different than China selling our debt. China has an infinitesimal position of our debt. So I kind of like this symbiotic relationship, and I'm wondering if you think that could go back, because if you remember, they were a tremendous ally of ours, especially when it came to trade. You remember how everyone years ago when we grew up, they were afraid of the Japanese? The Japanese were our friends. It's the Chinese that are our enemies. Don't you think that needs to be exploited along with Taiwan? And we could really anchor the foreign policy and kind of have a hybrid austerity where we're not really practicing austerity in the classic sense, but we're only trading and interacting with our actual true allies. Do you think that's why he bought the debt?
Yeah, well, yes. He also bought the Japanese yen with them, so they wouldn't sell our debt, right? So they were going to have to sell our debt to raise cash to strengthen their own currency. Bessent went in and sold euros, raised cash. So he didn't sell dollars. He sold euros to raise cash to help the Japanese buy their own Japanese yen.
I love that hedge. I love that.
Yeah. Then that stopped them from selling our treasuries to raise cash to help prop up their own currency. It usually takes two or three go-rounds for that to work. It will probably work. And I agree with you 100%. I know that Trump can't say what he's really thinking, and thank God he doesn't probably. But, there's no way that China is a friend of ours.
No.
They've been trying to sabotage us for the last 2 or 3 years. We've had Scott Bessent in Paris waiting to meet them, and they've been dropping off kids that are supposed to be going to the University of Michigan, and they've been caught with biohazards that could kill all of our corn and our wheat. I mean, they aren't our friend. They want to kill us. But we keep going down the road with them because they're a big, it's like keep your enemies close, right? I think that's what he's doing. So he says I have a great relationship with Xi, but he has to. He can't say anything else.
We have all of these hedge fund wealth managers, $3 trillion in cash. That hasn't been done for many, many years. I don't necessarily think it's bearish. I think it can be bullish. I think they want to put that money somewhere where they know it's going to be a growth industry. When you see wealth managers keep $3 trillion in cash, is that a bearish sign in a macro system, or is it a potential bullish? What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's $8 trillion in money markets, $8.3 trillion in money markets right now. The short-term money markets, but it could get attractive. Well, you have to worry about those bonds yields rising too much because that becomes competition to the stock market. That's why we're worried, right? So if you see that 10-year yield get up at 5%, older people are going to take their money out of the stock market and go, hey, I only got 15 years left. I don't mind buying a 10-year yield and guaranteeing myself, 5% on half my money. So, that's the problem. So you have to keep an eye on that. But no, I don't, money on the sidelines a lot of times misses the boat. It missed the boat after the tariff tantrum last April of 2025, and they missed the boat a lot this year. So, that doesn't mean they're smart. And by the way, Buffett had a big cash pile that he's starting to deploy now too, or at least his predecessor is. So they're starting to spend money. That's a good sign.
Yeah. So when you start the show tomorrow, are you going to say sell euros, buy yen? Is that how you're starting tomorrow? And you're going to have EJ Antoni on?
I'm trying to. He said he wants to come on. I booked it. He hasn't. You know how it is with this business; they have to confirm. He hasn't confirmed yet, but I'm sure he's busy. But yeah, he's going to be on.
He's a wonderful guy, and he's going through a difficult time. And tell him I said hello, that handsome devil. I'll talk when you want to talk about dressed well. It's like having Vincent Price on. I think I'm very proud that you're going to have him on tomorrow at 12:30. So make sure that don't wear the tie that fits your head. Don't wear that big monster tie. You make me want to order a cheeseburger out of your head like Jack in the Box. So wear the right tie, will you please?
That's my next job. I can be the big boy sign.
Thank you for always making time for me, brother. I love you. I appreciate you. Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady, RFD TV, Scott the Cow Guy, close. Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Shaun Thompson Show, where Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are seldom right, and politicians are never, ever to be trusted. On AM 560, The Answer.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are what some Virago users have to say.
I started using Virago a little more than a year ago. I have 3 school-age kids, and they are constantly bringing home whatever bug is going around school, whether it's a cold, a sore throat, whatever it is. Everyone in the house was getting sick. I started taking Virago to help boost my immune system, and it worked. I haven't been sick since starting Virago. I use just a half a dose daily unless I feel like I'm getting something. Then I'll take a full dose for a day or 2, and I'm fine. I also feel great and more on top of my game, like my memory is sharper. I'm not forgetting things. I